Hello everybody, welcome to the 1950 United States Grand Prix with previous results carrying. Unfortunately, the game still won't let me put Farina in his actual starting position. At least this time it's only third instead of second, so Farina and Byra swap positions. But I had another problem, and that was that it kept trying to duplicate Louis Chiron. So in order to get Farina in the race, I had to put 33 drivers on the grid and duplicate a driver. So I've duplicated a driver who I don't think will threaten the points, and his highest position will count as his starting position for the next race out of his two drivers. So I've duplicated Cuff Harrison, who I don't expect to be scoring points. It might surprise me. But you know, the game sort of randomly decides who it's going to duplicate. So as long as I don't pick an Alfa Romeo or a Maserati, I should be alright. So, yeah, I took that one. So, we'll have a look here through the grid. We can see Manzon and Bonetto. There's quite a few fast drivers out of place here, isn't there? Fagioli, he's starting down in 14th, following his misdemeanor in Monte Carlo. Fangio, he had a bigger misdemeanor, and he starts down in 18th behind Ascari in the Ferrari. So, yes, there is a few drivers who are, like we say, quite fast and out of position now. This is what we hope for with this previous results carry, that some drivers will be able to take advantage and others will struggle a little bit. Well, obviously that hasn't worked completely until the game stops putting a driver in second position when I haven't earned it. But you know, at some point that will change. I think it just varies on the 50s mods. We did the 56 season on the Evo, and for the second half of the season it was starting to Silva Ramos second every time, but the first half of the season was fine. So hopefully we'll go into a bit of a motion that's fine here soon. Yeah, but here we go. We're about to start United States Grand Prix, and there are 33 but 32 runners, don't forget. So here we go. So Chiron starting on pole. We know those Alphas often to be quick at the start, so it'll be interesting to see what Farina can do versus Chiron and Byra, who absolutely dominated the Monaco Grand Prix. And Farina is away very clearly and obviously well, and Parnell looking to stick his nose through as well. And Farina straight into the lead instantly. Who is in second? It's Chiron at the moment. Chiron is holding on. I'm not too sure where regparnell is, but Chiron is holding on to second. And I'm sure it'll only be a lap or two before Chiron comes back and humiliates his Alfa Romeos again. They had a lot of work to do, especially after Monaco. Byra's still in third at the moment, so I'm imagining Parnell is fourth or fifth. Look already, there's some moves being made, and I believe that is regparnell in his Alfa Romeo, going past Roll's Maserati. Actually, no, yeah, he's gone past Roll and Byra as well, and now he's already given Chiron a hard time. With further back Chiron falls, the easier it's going to be for Parnell, for Alfa to hold on. And look at the lead Farina's getting already. Well, Farina is definitely leading, and Parnell was past Chiron. We didn't even see it. He just did it just like that. Probably did see it, but I wasn't fully focusing on what was going on. It's quite hard to tell on this camera angle on these old races when a lot of the cars are similar colours, all the Alfas, Maseratis, Ferraris. It's quite hard to tell who is who. So it can be a bit of a maze at times watching these old Grand Prix. But Farina, we know that for certain Farina is leading, and Parnell is in second place. Fagioli, he started 14th on the grid. We've only had 2 laps, and Fagioli is already up into third place. Fangio has not made similar progress from 18th, but he's definitely up in, where is he? Fangio is sitting in 14th, so still behind Ascari at the moment, but he's in 14th, so Fangio has gained ground, just not as much. There's always a hope. Chiron has actually dropped out of the points at the moment. He won the first 2 races. He could do with maximising what he can do, which potentially is fourth if those Alphas don't start to fall back towards the Maseratis. And at the moment, they're just going further and further away. And finally, Alfa Romeo was showing what we thought they could show all season. And Farina leading Parnell, and is actually becoming a bit of a dull race at the moment because there's nothing really going on unless we look further back into the field, which we might have to do at some point, because there's just the front 3 are pretty settled already. Farina, Parnell, Fagioli, and the question is, can Fagioli catch either of those other 2? Parnell looked like he's actually closing the gap on Farina, but only a little bit. So we shall see what happens. Fangio has now got up into 10th, so progress is definitely being made by Juan Manuel Fangio, and it might not be at the rate that the other Alphas made it at, but he's still making progress that he can be happy with in this race, because Fangio, his main priority has got to be getting up into the points and getting a decent starting position for the Swiss Grand Prix, which is next. So Fangio will be very keen. He is now coming up upon that pack of Maseratis, and that'll be the last thing that stops him from getting up into the points. So we're going to have a look. I want to see where Chiron is again. I'm honestly not sure, but there is Fagioli, and he is still running in third. That's Farina. You see up in the lead there, and this Brickyard has given us a pretty straightforward race, really. It's allowed the Alphas so far to finally dominate. I'm wondering if Maserati are going to come back into it later in the race, but the thing is that the further along Chiron gets without closing that ground back down, Alfa Romeo will be looking pretty secure. I think they're already a good 10-20 seconds ahead of Chiron, and we're not even at half distance yet. Alfa Romeo, they just absolutely know what they're doing. And Farina, Parnell, Fagioli, the top three, this is looking pretty static. But I think there is that pack of Maseratis with Fangio starting to make his way through. And Fangio's his aim's going to be fourth place in this race. Clearly Hampshire, Hampshire wasn't leading Maserati, but Chiron has now found his way back through. So Chiron has found something. He's up in the fourth. And I wonder if Louis Chiron now can start closing down those Alfa Romeos. What will be key is how Fangio does when Fangio clears the rest of those Maseratis, which is surely going to happen, and in the not too distant future. The key question will be if Fangio can catch and pass Chiron. I think if Fangio does so, then you know that Maserati have not got a hope in this race, and they are racing for fifth place, excluding any retirements that may occur. So Farina still leading. They're coming up upon the back markers now, and the back markers, they are going a lot slower, so they could have some influence on how the race goes. You'd think there's enough room to pass, but Parnell, I think, is already getting delayed quite badly there, and that will enable Farina to get away. Parnell was closing on him a little bit, maybe would have been up with him towards the end of the race, but he's been badly delayed there. That's going to give Parnell a problem, and it's going to allow Fagioli, although Fagioli has still got to get through the back markers, and there's two of them there for Fagioli to contend with, going extremely slowly, and Luigi Fagioli will not be happy about this at all, because there was his chance. They both bump each other into the wall slightly, and Fagioli does make his way through. Well, Fagioli was hoping for the chance to get up with an attack Reg Parnell, but that has not happened because he got delayed. Now here's Chiron, and he's got Fangio right up behind him. This is the key moment for Maserati's race. Have they got any hope of holding off that fourth Alfa Romeo? They'll certainly try. Chiron will certainly try, but Fangio is looking pretty pacey. Alfa Romeo they're just irresistible in this race. A totally immovable object, and I'm sure Fangio is going to look to pass Chiron. He's clearly in trouble with his pace. It's not going to be Chiron interfering with the Alfa Romeo 1, 2, 3, 4. He will try to hold Fangio off for as long as is physically possible, but with Chiron getting stuck behind back markers, that's not going to help him either. And through goes Fangio. Nice and easy move for Juan Manuel Fangio, and he is up in the fourth. Louis Chiron now in fifth place, and the race is now in much danger of going very static. We'll keep an eye. We're going to check in with the front runners to see how they're doing. Farina is still leading. He's still up more back markers to make his way through, and those two back markers running nose to tail almost again. They lost a lot of ground. They only just been passed by Fagioli, and now they're being caught, assuming it's the same guys, which I'm pretty sure it is. They're now being caught by Farina once again as Farina goes through and comes through to move into another lap. And you'll have to excuse my yawns. It's been that sort of race so far, hasn't it? Parnell, he is now coming up. Parnell has definitely gained some ground back there on Farina. Don't know how much Fagioli, he's trying to make up some ground himself, but the way Farina and Parnell got away in the early stages, it makes it pretty challenging for him to catch up. The Maseratis, we can see they're all there, and both Harrisons are still in the race, but they're nowhere near the points to my relief, because if they both scored the points, I'm going to have to take the lowest finishing one away. So yeah, that would have made it a bit awkward, but it's not going to be that awkward because they're down in 9th and 10th, and not much hope really. Fangio is in 4th, and he is pushing to try to catch up to Fagioli now, but the Alfa Romeos, they don't really have any needs to switch around. They are doing a parade here in Indianapolis, just seeking to show just how dominant their motor car is at this point in time. And I mean, it's a far cry from the first couple of races where they weren't able to show that because Louis Chiron was absolutely on fire. But yeah, here Alfa Romeo are where they should be, where they expected to be at the start of the season, and we are just watching an absolute tour de force here. I mean, it's worth watching just to be amazed and to spectacle at the sheer pace of those Alfa Romeos. It really is quite something. They are a long way ahead of the entire field. There's 3 laps to go. Farina's got 6.3, and there's a bit of a delay here, which might shuffle those Maseratis. Well, Farina is 6.3 ahead of Parnell, and then Fagioli is 15.3 down. Let's see where Fangio is. Well, he must cross the line soon, I'm sure. Fangio is actually closer to Fagioli than Fagioli is to Parnell. Not sure if that will remain the case. It all depends on back markers as well, and we're hoping that the back markers are going to close things up a bit just to give us a bit of a race, because we are really watching a procession here. Roland Byra's had a disappointing race, dropping from what would have been second on the grid, ended up being third, but still, considering how well he did in Monaco, the expectation was for Princebira to be competitive for points, but he's at the back of that Maserati group, so really not being able to do very much at all. Harrison's still within a minute of the leaders, so that's not terrible. You've got Levey and Giro Caventou. They are completing the top 12 at the moment in their Talbots. Talbot, I think, hoped for a bit more this season. I think they would have hoped to have taken at least a few points by now, but so would everybody. But it's purely Alfa Romeo and Maserati in the constructors, and you'd need quite a few retirements to change that today, because they are a long way ahead. And there is Farina, I think, coming up upon another back marker. Didn't fall for the tongue twister this time. And he will look to make that work as quickly as possible so that he can make his way through and then get on after the next goal, which will be the next back marker to lap, or the end of the race, whichever comes the soonest. Parnell is there. He is, I think, at one point he looked like he was catching Farina, but nothing's really materialised. He would need Farina to get badly held up or have a major issue now. Hampshire ahead of Roll. Byra still in 8th. And Fangio still running comfortably ahead of Chiron. So Chiron, having won the opening 2 races, having basically dominated, it's all falling apart for him a bit today. He's doing all he can in his car, but the most his car can achieve is 5th behind these 4 spectacular Alfa Romeos. It wouldn't have mattered, I don't think, if they'd have started at the very back of the grid. They'd have still been 1, 2, 3, 4. Farina starting 2nd or 3rd, that didn't really make a difference. But now Farina is being really badly held up by these back markers, and I think Parnell, he might be about to come into the hunt here, because is that Parnell right behind, or is that another back marker, quicker back marker than those two? I'm not entirely sure. I say it's really hard to tell what is it. Well, you can tell the Alphas because they've got the coloured rings on the front, but you can't really tell the Maseratis and Ferraris apart, certainly not from a distance. You can see Chiron's got that little bit of a white front as well, and so is his, because the Maserati are split in separate teams. We just class it all as one team, but the guy who's running alongside Chiron and his team will have that same decal on the car.
It's stuck in 4th gear.
Oh, there's some news. Fangio is stuck in gear. Now, this is going to be a test for the Alphas' pace and dominance. Will Fangio be able to hold Chiron back? He's 20 seconds ahead. I think there's only 1 lap left to go. Farina is getting badly held up once again, and this is a massive trial of back markers. The race might not be over. It might be about to get a bit dramatic, because Parnell, he is going to look to close in here. He might just have one final chance. And look at that, the gap. That is the gap now. It really has closed in. And Farina is desperate to finish, but he has finished. He crosses the line, but Reg Parnell only 6/10 of a second behind at the end of the race. Shows how badly held up Farina got in the closing stages. But Giuseppe Farina does win the race. Parnell 6/10 behind. Fagioli 8.7 behind, so never really able to close on his 2 teammates. And Fangio 18.3. He did close a bit, certainly on Farina by the end of the race, but well, so did Fagioli, but that really nowhere near close enough, nowhere near quick enough to catch up to their dominant teammates. And Farina and Parnell will gratefully accept that result today. And for Farina, it means that there is a championship battle, and Parnell as well, actually. and Fagioli. It means there is a bit of a championship battle with Chiron.
Well
So
done, you finished
there we go then.
fifth.
So Farina wins the race. Regparnell finishes in second place. Third place for Luigi Fagioli. Fourth for Juanmanuelfangio. And Louis Chiron brings home just a couple of points for Maserati in fifth place. Apart from that fifth place for Maserati, Alfa Romeo dominated the race, and I think Maserati would be quite grateful they didn't have 5 cars. Is that I think Farina's engine is starting to go. Well, he's obviously finished the race, so that doesn't really matter. But yeah, so there we go. Let's have a quick little look at the championship standings then. Louis Chiron, he still leads it. He's on 18 points. Those 2 wins at the first 2 races of the season doing him proud. But he's only going to be 5th in the next race. Let's hope that Bremgarten is a bit twistier. Let's hope that it will give Chiron an opportunity. Parnell on 12 points in second, but level with Farina. He was ahead of Farina in the championship before this race, which is why he stays ahead. But Parnell on 12, Farina on 12, Fagioli on 10 in 4th, Byra in 5th on 8, Fangio 6th on 6, and Hampshire 7th on 3. The Constructors' Championship, it's really, really hard to tell you what the standings are because so many teams have scored. The Constructors' Championship is thus: Alfa Romeo 40, Maserati 29, everybody else absolutely 0. So that is how this race ran, and I'm afraid I don't really have a lot to say. I'm trying to hold out so I can go down the standings here and show you just where everybody finished, so that for the next race you can see what the starting grid is going to be. Obviously always minus any drivers that change teams, like Harry Schell went to the back today because he changed teams between Monaco and Indianapolis. He went from Cooper to Talbot. All that remains to say now is thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and take care.